NRL boss Peter V'landys has hit back at AFL chiefs who have criticised the league's bold plan to restart the season on May 28. Joining me now to discuss those issues, Sky News Sports presenter Tim Gilbert. Not much between V'landys and, of course, Eddie Maguire as they go head-to-head down there in Victoria and Sydney. Timmy, what are your thoughts on that little kerfuffle?
Well, Peter V'landys, good evening to you, Pete. Peter V'landys has always been on the Melbourne dartboard, hasn't he? Because he's run Racing New South Wales, and they haven't been very happy with some of the initiatives that he's put forward. But as he has done in the past, he's a successful guy. He's put this date in the diary of May 28, and although some of those in the whole AFL world and other parts of sport have said, oh, really? How are they doing this? Goodness gracious, they shouldn't be going out on their own. Now, that whole vibe has changed to the point where a lot of people inside AFL are saying, why aren't we doing more? Why aren't we on the front foot? Why aren't we getting out there? Why don't we have a date? So, look, I think that may happen early next week at this point, that they might try and position a date for June. But, look, I think the momentum is starting to grow the other way. So Peter V'landys, look, no one's perfect, but he's one of these indefatigable guys that just goes full steam ahead. And as you've seen with his education program today with the teams, this 40-page document and everything else, even what New Zealand's had to endure and what they will have to endure, everyone, like 48 different tables for lunch and breakfast and dinner, and everyone getting their temperature done, all the biosecurity. So it's not like he hasn't been lockstep with the health initiatives and biosecurity. So the NRL, for once, is looking to be leading the way.
And Sydney Roosters coach Trent Robinson is in isolation as he awaits his test results for COVID, Timmy.
It's interesting because he's actually on the Apollo panel, wasn't he, on the Rugby League Apollo panel. I did see Wayne Pearce, who is also on that panel. He heads it up, and they were put together to try and get the game back up and going at this particular time. Wayne Pearce, Wayne Bennett's on it as well. Yeah, look, he sort of almost half chuckled. He goes, oh, yeah, you wake up with a sore throat, but that's the protocols. That's the way we're doing it. If that's what you have, you need to get tested. So fingers crossed for Trent Robinson. It's a long shot for him to be found, positive with COVID-19. But it doesn't matter. If you've got a sniffle or a cough or a cold or a temperature, you have to immediately go and get tested.
Mm-hmm. Now, AFL legend Mick Malthouse says take the game to the people.
Yeah, that gets back to that other point we were making earlier on. And like Mick Malthouse has come out and, look, one of the most revered coaches. He's always on the front foot, though, Mick, and some people love him, others don't. But he's saying, look, if in Victoria we keep grounds shut to fans for prolonged periods of time. And look, as we've seen to this point, Victoria has been very much its own state, hasn't it? They're running their own race, not letting people play golf and saying to the Melbourne Storm, sorry, you're not going to be able to train at Amy Park, so they've had to go past Wodonga and train in Albury. He's saying, look, if we get to big games and other places are opening up the stadiums, let's go there and play some finals footy. But therein lies this issue for Daniel Andrews and his government, because they are the sporting capital, by their own admission, of Australia and the universe, Melbourne/Victoria. They're going to start to get pretty uptight, I reckon, if they're seeing everybody else going to sport and other restrictions being lifted, and for them still living in so many restrictive parts of their lives.
Timmy. It's a good point because, surely there's a showdown brewing between the Victorian sporting public and the state government. I mean, we know that the state government down there are incredibly draconian when it comes to these restrictions. You can't play golf, you can't fish, they won't let you send your kids to school. But, sports are a legend down there. I mean, they'll have a lot of pressure, particularly from the AFL, I'd imagine.
Oh, yeah, and people want to see governments taking care of them, but once they see that having been done and life moving on, because there always has to be a full stop, and there is starting to be those full stops all around the place, isn't there? But they see government drunk on power, limiting what they can do, and this is that safe haven, isn't it? The sport is what people do when they're going through a tough time. Plenty of these people have lost their jobs. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting space to watch. There's going to be a very agitated bunch of people if the Victorians aren't allowed to participate and get involved in the things they love. And the big thing that they love is sport.
What was the mood today among the teams who are obviously back training today?
Yeah, look, I think they were all very good. And like I saw various bits of vision coming through from various clubs, and they were all getting tested on the way in. They all had to take their 2 pairs of shoes. I mentioned a little bit about what New Zealand were doing. There is that 40-page document. They're under very strict rules. I mean, they aren't allowed to go out and play golf at Tamworth, although that course is lovely. So for the time being,
Greg Norman course.
Well, you and I can, so we have to meet halfway and have a game in separate carts, of course. So yeah, the golf they're not allowed to play. They're not allowed to surf. There's heaps of things that they need to stick to, and yeah, that's all part of this new world until restrictions are lifted. But the one thing that they really don't want to see happen is another one of those Addo Carr / Cleary / Latrell moments, because that will just send them down the river.
Well, absolutely, down the river at 100 miles an hour. Now, Hughie Bowman, absolutely on fire on Saturday. No winks anymore for Hughie, but he's got a magical number in his sights, hasn't he?
I always bet with my head not over it, obviously, as you do, but I often on a Saturday was, OK, where's Hughie riding? I'll just go with Hugh. Saturday, I decided not to have my $2 each way. He won 5. He won 5, and it takes his tally.
He was absolutely on fire.
Oh, it takes his tally ballooning ahead. I mean, they weren't Group 1 races, but he has now won 95 Group 1s when you add them all together, and a lot of those, of course, were with Winks. And he's looking to join this elite club that the pumper, Jimmy Cassidy, 104, Damien Oliver, 119 on the rise. George Moore, of course, had 126. I think that Hughie and Damien might catch him, but it's an elite band of 3 jockeys that have gone past 100 Group 1s, and Hughie Bowman's 5 away.
Yeah, he is a freak, isn't he? I mean, 5 wins there on Saturday were just absolutely outstanding. Now, no date has been set for the Tim Zoo Jeff Horn super fight. It was supposed to be on April 22, Timmy, but it now looks like it'll be later in the year. There's even contemplation from the promoters that it'll go ahead in front of a stadium without people. But look, Mike Tyson, let's talk about Mike Tyson. This is extraordinary footage. He's now 53, but he's no less scary, is he, Timmy?
Oh, no, let's have a look at a bit of it. He posted it up on Twitter. Mike Tyson, Iron Mike Tyson, look, Muhammad Ali used to say floating like a butterfly, God rest his soul. He talks like a butterfly, Tyson, with that lilt. But look at this, 53. Goodness gracious, you don't even want to be in the same postcode when he's throwing them like that. He, remember when he bit off Holyfield's? Oh, yeah, he's a fearsome human. He's a fearsome character. Look at it. Ooh.
Just on boxing, while we got that vision up there, Timmy. What are your thoughts on this Zoo Horn fight? Because Zoo's unbeaten. He's obviously a son of Kostya Zoo, one of the greatest of all time. Horn coming off a terrific rematch with Brent Zarafa, one of the best fights I've ever seen. Timmy, I was there ringside when he threw that haymaker in the 9th round and knocked Zarafa to the floor. It's got all the ingredients of being a classic Australian fight. Who will you be putting your hard-earned on? Obviously, you'll be gambling responsibly, though.
Yeah, I think it's tight. I think it's tight. You're going to go for the school teacher from Brisbane?
Well, I am going to go for the school teacher. He's a family favourite. He's a good young fellow. He's a terrific fellow. I haven't met Zoo. I'm sure he's a lovely bloke as well, but I think Horn's the man. But I mean, Zoo, what a pedigree. What a pedigree. Yeah. Kostya Zoo.
Oh, exactly. Oh, he's got plenty of ability. Look, I'd find it hard to say who'd win that fight because, they've both got their own unique strengths, haven't they? But the bigger point to that is, why wouldn't they have it without a crowd? Because plenty of people will buy it, and that's where the money is, to be honest. I mean, yeah, of course, you lose a bit of the enthusiasm, but generally speaking, when you've got, pugilism, a boxing match that a lot of people want to watch, they just stick to the ring. So, I think it probably may well go ahead without a crowd if they're not allowed.
And just before we get to weather, Timmy, any inside information on when we might see the AFL resume? I mean, as you mentioned, the sporting public in Victoria would be chomping at the bit to get something underway. Gillon McLachlan's a smart character. He'd be watching what's going on with the NRL. Are we looking at a possibility of a June start?
Yeah, I think so. Say mid to late June is where I'm hearing that they're positioning for, and they're starting to get very agitated. A lot of people in the game are getting agitated. They want to get going, and now that they're starting to see rugby league teams have meetings, start training tomorrow proper, New Zealand come here, well, they're saying, well, we don't even have an international team. Why aren't we up and going? Why can't we get playing? So, yeah, I think June is what they want, but the longer it goes, the more cranky people will get, and this whole, oh, we will wait and all that, it's not going to wash much longer, Pete. People will want to say, let's get out and see the ball flash between the calico posts. That's what we want to see.
Tim Gilbert, great to see you tonight on Sky News across Australia, as always, on a Monday night. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Cheers, Pete.